Pestilence, the noxious smog that hangs over a dirt-ridden city. The rats at a carcass of a fallen soldier. And Periites' foremost lieutenant. It is said that a spectral figure walks among the cities soon to be ridden with plague, an ambling, shuffling wreck of humanity, wretched beyond description. It is no mere spectre or will-o'-the-wisp, but Periites' right hand, passing judgment on those who will fade into the void. So too has he appeared as a great rider astride a horse pale as death, bow drawn, striking down those for whom death is ordained. It had been most fortunate for the mortals of Tamriel, as the horseman had not been seen abroad for near a millennia. He had been attending to his master in his realm of oblivion, keeping order among the lower things, creatures leathery of skin and sharp of tooth and claw, those that communed in guttural growls deep in the throat. He had been kept busy by his taskmaster, but now the Lord of Plague had a new task for his servant. Within the pits, a voice, soft and dangerous, whispered to him, "It has been many a cycle of the moon since you last walked the world of the living." "It has," replied the horseman. "Your Highness has had little use for me." Pestilence could not stop the resentment from entering his voice, and Periites laughed. "I hear war is afoot. The sovereignty of Skyrim hangs in the balance." At long last, Pestilence's interest was piqued. "What does His Highness intend for me to do?" "Do? You will not intervene in the war. The name of Periites is not burst forth from the lungs of soldiers charging into battle, but whispered on the last breath of soldiers whose wounds have become infected, crowed by the carrion who flock to a battlefield. You shall claim those who are to die with your barbs and poison. Be of comfort to those who are slipping into the void, soon to enter my domain." With that, the pressure lifted from the horseman's mind, and he set about preparing the way for his arrival. Periites had been right. It had been a while. Much later, some legionaries were scavenging from fallen Stormcloak warriors. Now that their bloodlust had abated, they efficiently combed the corpses for anything of value, weapons or trinkets, neither of which would have been any use to their former owners. One of the legionaries was alerted to what sounded like the clipping of horses' hooves emanating from the mist. All three of the soldiers turned, for before them they saw a being of majesty. Astride a white warhorse, Pestilence surveyed those in front of him. Dismounting, the soldiers could see he was a man of wealth and influence, for his tunic was embroidered with gold, and was of an exceptional quality. What struck them, though, was the helm upon his head, from which protruded the curved horns of a great beast, from beneath which two intense and bloodshot eyes stared from a wizened, bearded face. Suddenly, the foremost legionary noticed the bow on the horseman's back and drew his sword from its scabbard with a rasp. It had been a long time, and the horseman had forgotten how quick humans were roused to violence. Taking his bow from his back, he drew and fired an arrow in the time it took the legionary to raise his shield. That didn't save him. The arrow passed through his shield and into his chest, killing him instantly. The other two ran forward, attacking him from both sides. Swaying like a tree in a storm, the horseman evaded the first strike, for the green tendrils of his sword buried themselves in the legionary. The last legionary was approaching too fast, sword too close to block, so the horseman turned and instinctively grabbed his wrist. All at once the soldier froze and started to turn brittle to the touch. With a look of horror on his face, he began to crumble. He had been turned to ash. Dusting off his fine cloak, Pestilence straightened up and surveyed the snow-covered landscape around him. "I might even enjoy this." The main skills you will need for this build are one-handed, archery and block, with the secondary skills of alchemy and restoration. Restoration being for the poison rune spell that you see me use. I also use the ash spell rune, however I think for your build stick to the poison rune for purposes of Pestilence. One-handed and block will of course be for Mirak's sword, and archery will be for your drain spell bow, with alchemy meaning that you can add poisons to arrows to imitate the effect of felling your enemies with poison, as Pestilence did in the Bible. The gear you'll need for this build is the fur-trimmed cloak, the helm of Ingol, Daedric gauntlets and boots, and as previously mentioned, the drain spell bow and Mirak's sword. That's it from me. Don't forget to check out the other builds in the series made by Sarge, Pixel and Brosis, three great YouTubers who I can't recommend enough, in the description below. And anyway, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time with another video.